What's up, guys? Brian Ellwood. Welcome back to the Virtual Real Estate Investing Podcast. Hope everybody's doing awesome today. It's Friday. The sun is out here in Denver. I'm about to take Penny, my golden retriever, up to the dog park because she was going insane this morning with her toys, and she needs to get her energy out. If you have a dog that has at least a medium energy level or higher, you definitely know what I'm talking about. It's like they wake up with a full energy bar. Like you remember playing Mortal Kombat with the energy bar at the top. And if you want to be a good pet owner, you got to deplete that thing down to the red. That's all you got to do, basically. So I'm about to go do that. But I did want to record this quick episode for you guys because I've been getting a question frequently about cash flow and like how to know if a deal is a good deal. So I want to talk about that today. Cool. So I'm just going to make this really simple for you guys. There's something called the 1% to 2% rule. And I've talked about this probably a little bit on previous episodes. Basically what the 1% rule states is that rent must be at a minimum 1% or more of the purchase price. So 1 month's rent divided by the total all-in cost should be 1% or better. And on the calculator, it shows up as 0.01. That's 1%. Okay. So let me give you an example because that probably wasn't clear. Let's say a deal comes along. The price is $50,000 to buy it and it needs $10,000 in repairs. Okay. So that's 60. Plus, you should probably always tack on $5,000 because closing costs and unforeseen things, money costs, you'll end up paying 65 for it. So 50 to buy it, 10 to fix it up, and then another 5 for the other costs. 65. Your all-in cost to buy it, get it ready to rent. So that's the all-in cost, $65,000. Now, if the rent was $650 a month, 1 month's rent, and you took $650, the rent, divide by all-in cost, $65,000, you would get 0.01. Okay, that would be a 1%er if you had a house that rented for $650 and your all-in cost was $65,000. You can kind of visually tell if it's a 1%er because $700, it'd be $70,000. If the rent was $850, it'd be $85,000. If the rent was $1,000, it'd be $100,000. You get my point, right? It's 1%, with the 1 month's rent divided by the all-in cost. Now, a lot of investors think that that's good enough. If it's a 1%er or better, it's good enough. It's not, okay? I'm just going to come out and say that 1%ers are not good. I've not had good experience with them. There's not really any cash flow left after you take away the payment, the taxes, the insurance, the property manager, the vacancies, the repairs. Usually you're making $50, $100 a month, or you're just kind of breaking even on it and you're kind of holding on to it, hoping it goes up in value. It becomes a long-term play where you're just kind of like letting the tenant pay the mortgage, but that's not the goal here. The goal is cash flow, and you can't make cash flow with a 1%er. So I encourage you not to buy 1%ers. And local investors in my market in Tennessee will tell you the same thing. There's guys that have been doing this way longer than me. They've bought lots of 1%ers in the past, and they will tell you the same thing. Just stay away from 1%ers. They're not good enough, okay? Lots of people, like if someone lived in California and they're used to $1 million houses and they come to Tennessee, they might buy a house for $70,000 that rents for $700 a month as a rental and be like, this is amazing. We're getting a return on our investment. But that's just compared to like what they're used to, which is, bleeding out money on really expensive properties. We know though that there's markets where you can do much better. So my required minimum is 1.3%. Okay. And I usually buy houses around 1.4, 1.5. Now you can get them all the way up to 2%, but usually if you're getting a 2%er, there's probably a catch. It means that it's in the ghetto or it's in the rural area and it's not really going to stay rented, or the repairs are going to be more, and that 2% is going to eat its way down to less than that. So let's run through some example scenarios. I'm going to get the calculator out here. Let's say a house will be all in for 55 grand. I did one like this recently. All in for 55 grand and it rents for 850. So 850 divided by 55,000 is 0.015. So that's a 1.5 percenter. Okay, that's good. That's really what I recommend you shoot for. I mean, I'm only in debt for 50 grand and I've got probably a few $100s a month in cash flow for just 50,000 in debt. I see people go 100 grand in debt for just 150,000. I mean, sorry, 100, they'll buy a $100,000 rental for just 150 bucks a month in net rent, right? Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you buy two houses for 50 grand that each put off 300? Now you've got 600 bucks a month in net cash flow, not 150. You got 4 times as much, right? So how much you spend is also relevant. Just to make up an extreme example to prove my point, what if you could get, 500 bucks a month in net cash flow, but you had to spend $500,000 to buy the house? Would that be a good idea? Of course not, right? You're just going into way more debt for that little bit of cash flow. You could instead buy 10 houses that brought you for 50 grand each, that each put out 300, and you'd have 3 grand a month in net cash flow instead of $500, right? So, bit of a tangent there, but when you're analyzing deals, like literally the very first thing you got to look at is just what's 1 month's rent, what's the all-in cost going to be to me, divide those two by each other, it should be 1.3 or higher. The way it'll show up on a calculator is 0.013, okay? So do that, and if it is, you're good to sort of look at the next piece, which is equity. Now, equity is not a requirement because the goal is cash flow, passive income, freedom, and you don't really get that from equity, but equity helps because you can do cash out refis and things like that. You can play with your equity and use it to buy more properties. Plus it makes you feel like you got a better deal. Your net worth goes up more. It's good to have equity in your deals. And I usually always at least have like 15 in every deal I buy by the time I bought it and fix it up. Often I get 20 to 30. And so that's cool because if I buy 10 houses a year, then I've got 300,000 in equity in that 10 houses, right? That's a nice chunk of net worth that I've added to my bottom line. I can use that to get lines of credit or do cash out refis later. It's just more room between what it's worth and what you owe on it, right? It's just a safer investment. If the market were to go down, you've got some cushion there, right? If the house were to go down in value. But if for some reason you're investing in a market where that's not possible to get equity, some markets are so crazy that it doesn't happen, it's not a total deal killer to not have equity, but definitely don't pay more than something is worth. You want to at least be paying market value. And then, the last thing I'll say to sort of button this up is, you stick to that 1.3 or better rule. You still need to do the actual calculation. So you don't just run the 1.3 thing and then say, all right, it's definitely good enough, because that's sort of making an assumption on like what your loan payment's going to be, what your taxes are going to be, what your monthly insurance is going to be. You need to actually, in a granular way, break that down and give me the exact real number. How much are you going to net per month? And it should be between $200 and $300 on every house, at least. Especially, if you're spending like 50 grand, you should be able to get 200 to 300 per door that you buy per house. So still calculate the real numbers. The 1.3 thing is just the rough starting point to say, okay, this deal kind of works. I'll use it to just make rough offers to a wholesaler. They might send me something and say that the price is, $75,000. And I see that to be at the 1.3% rule, I need to be at more like 55, not 75. I'm like, well, 55 is definitely going to be the best I can do. Are you even willing to be flexible? And if they are, then I'll, go into it further, right? But that's how it's a high level way to quickly analyze things and really get to about the range that you should be paying for a house. And yeah, that's about it, guys. So use that formula, and remember, cash flow is the main criteria that you decide whether or not to buy on 1.3% or better. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. And guys, I teach a free live web class every Thursday where I show you guys how to get your first 12 houses, how to do it no matter where you live virtually, only on 1 or 2 hours a week because you might be busy, and buy the deals with none of your own money, no money spent on marketing. Sign up at virtualinvestingclass.com and I'll see you there. Peace.